There could not have been a more important initiative than what we did together. And what I'm really excited about is that we're here today to announce something that's even bigger. We have 4 of the Stop Award grant winners from last year. Pat, Tony, Taylor, Jeffrey, please join us.
My name is Taylor Shedd. I'm the founder and CEO of Stimuli Education.
Where they developed themselves as a brand.
I couldn't be prouder to be part of this group. Part of a group of people that said, we are not going to stop what we need to do for children. We're going to stop and think about how we deliver better.
Throughout our experience, we saw a lot of need in the area of real-world learning.
When you start with systems to then try to help kids, it's often backwards. Start with the kids, start with the families, with the parents.
Last year was such an exciting inaugural year, but this year is going to be bigger and better than ever.
We hope to distribute over $10 million to 64 different providers. That will include the big prize, which we're going to rename the Yas Prize for Education, the $1 million award.
Thank you, everyone. Today is one of the most inspirational days of my 35-plus career in education policy. 29 years ago today, believe it or not, I left the safety and security of a think tank and with 3 little boys launched CER from a small conference table. With the first of what would become more than 100 monthly letters to friends and a precursor to thousands of policy papers, tomes, advice, and lots of pushing and shoving to people all over the country, many of you probably in this room today or watching from home. That the hard work of stopping, or starting, maintaining, stopping, and starting again an organization that would put me in a room with people like these passionate, dedicated entrepreneurs today is a gift beyond all imagination. We're here to thank you, to celebrate you, and to honor your example. Thank you so much. And we need to take a moment as well to thank, honor, and celebrate the woman who made this possible. Being able to help launch an unprecedented high-impact philanthropy that can have as much impact as the Nobel Peace Prize for and with the incredible visionary Janine Yass is, well, nothing short of extraordinary. Thank you so much, Janine. Along the journey, I've had the good fortune to meet the gentleman I'm here to introduce. His razor-sharp focus on sound economic and education policy as the dual solution for inequity and the ability for all to live the American dream was inspiring. He made himself accessible to me, a young policy wonk, and was always generous with his time when called upon, as if I were the equal to his friends, the titans of industry. Even more admirable was his commitment to wanting to give back through philanthropy and public service. He was one of the most intelligent presidential candidates of his day, and is one of the strongest and most influential advocates for education and opportunity, innovation in education. Please join me in welcoming Steve Forbes.
Well, thank you very much, Jeannie, for those very, very kind words. She was a supporter, and wish there were more of her. With cloning, maybe we'd be meeting in my presidential library instead of here at Forbes 5th. But welcome here. This is a very exciting occasion. This is the second year we've partnered with the Yas Prize to honor and help in a meaningful way people who are making a real difference in education. And one of the key things is why what you're doing is so important is to ask yourself a very simple question. Tom Sowell and others ask it, and that is, what is the difference between us today and people in the Stone Age? Same planet, same resources, same human body. What's the difference between then and now? Very simple. We know more. We have more knowledge. And knowledge comes from not only creating new knowledge, but not forgetting existing knowledge. So you're doing two critical things. One is imparting what we know. It's amazing how many societies in the past don't remember what made them what they were, and they went backwards instead of forwards. And we think, well, in this modern age, that can't happen, but I think we've seen around the world, it can happen. Technology can be used as an enemy instead of a friend and an enabler. So you're preserving knowledge, but you're also creating an environment with kids who will create new knowledge. New knowledge comes from curiosity. And too often in education, that kind of curiosity is squashed out instead of being encouraged. And so the 8 different kinds of categories we're honoring today, people doing various things in various ways. Experimentation, that's how new knowledge is created. Whether it's experimenting in the lab, whether it's experimenting in the marketplace, whether it's doing what you're doing, finding ways to impart the knowledge and create the environment for new knowledge. And that's why what you're doing is absolutely critical. We can talk about tax policy, we can talk about this policy, that policy. But to do what you're doing, you need an environment of freedom. With freedom, you can challenge existing structures. You can and while the empires may strike back, we all have stories on that, they ultimately are not going to crush you in an environment of freedom. So freedom's important in terms of creating conditions for a higher standard of living, but that higher standard of living, better quality of life, comes from what you are doing. So you're at the core, you're at the basic of it. And this country, going back 200 years, did education in various ways that people would look down on today, the one-room school, the blab class, and the like. The amazing thing is, with dedicated people like you in the past, the literacy rate in this country is the highest in the world. The job got done, even if it was by unconventional means, especially on the, when you go out in an environment where no one's around. What do? Well, they made sure they hired a teacher. Come in a few weeks, teach the kids. And it worked. And what you're doing is going to bear enormous fruit in the years ahead. The thing to keep in mind is the real source of wealth in a society is the human mind, not material things. Because in freedom with the human mind, great wealth can be created. So you can destroy things physically. Take World War II, massive physical destruction, use of nuclear weapons, tens of millions of people killed. Experts thought it would be generations before the world could recover from that. But because knowledge was not destroyed, environment of freedom, Western Europe and Japan, in a few years, exceeded pre-war levels of production. Because knowledge was not destroyed, new knowledge can be created. And new knowledge can be big things, but also can be what they call the learning curve. Each and every day, improving things. You go to a coffee shop, notice 3 different sizes, 12, 16, 20 ounce. Years ago, they came up with a little innovation to design the cups in a way where the caps are the same size. So you didn't need 3 different sizes of caps in the invert. Little things like that happening constantly in an environment of freedom, which you exemplify. So whatever obstacles you face, whatever empires do to you, remember, you're doing the work of civilization. You are planting the seeds of a better world. Despite any bad news, you're doing great things. And we're not going to forget it. And that's why it's a great honor to be here today to push this process forward. So with Janine and what the Yasses are doing, Jeff, they're really, in terms of big money, not a lot. But you demonstrate with a few resources, you create the ultimate resource, developing in a positive way the human mind. So with that, thank you very much. Now, Seth Cohen, why don't you come up and we'll get the show on the road. But thank you.
So, hi everyone. It's never easy to follow someone who is a very erudite thinker, gifted speaker, and it's even more difficult when his name is on your business card. but it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and that is a great pleasure. I know that I can speak on behalf of everyone on the Forbes team that this kind of event and all of you are the people why we actually come to work every day. A lot of people think about Forbes as a media company, and we are, and journalists, and we are, and we have the Forbes Under 30 community, which probably some of you have heard of, which we are. But more than that, we're an intervention in the society in which we live in. And while for 105 years we've chronicled wealth and power, we've always done it with an eye towards prosperity and knowledge. And that's the kind of work that you all do. It's also the kind of work that the Yass family does, and the way they run this amazing competition that really is kind of the mix of the Nobel and the Pulitzer all rolled into one for education. It's not a small idea, and obviously from the talent in this room and the fact that you're all in this room, the investment is significant. And a few weeks ago, we had our Forbes Philanthropy Summit, our Forbes 400 Philanthropy Summit. We launched something that I'm helping lead called the Forbes Impact Lab, and we had a conversation about the power of philanthropy. And I had the pleasure of having Janine on the panel and speak with her a little bit about the what and the why of this award. And I can tell you from having worked for over 20 years in philanthropy, there are many people that do philanthropy or create competitions or prizes because it's the thing that people tell them you're supposed to do. That's not what Janine is about. She, in the conversation we had, was so vivid in the why she does it. The stories that she tells, the moment she realized that this is a mission that she and Jeff should pursue, not just because of their own passions, but because of the world and our community's needs. So it's really a remarkable testament to not only the power of your talent, to the power of philanthropy, but the power of when those two things come together, that the world can truly change. And that's why Forbes is so proud to be part of this partnership. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for everything you're doing. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to be who we are. And when it's all said and done, what matters more is what's done than what's said. And you all do a lot. So with that, I want to introduce our moderator for our panel, because there's some exciting news to be shared, but first there's a bit of learning to do as well. So I want to introduce Alyssa Farah Griffin. Alyssa is the newest co-host of The View, which is a pretty big deal. Prior to joining The View, she was the director of strategic communications at the Trump White House. She started her White House career as a communications director for Vice President Pence. She's also the youngest person ever to be the Pentagon spokesperson. So we love all ages here, but we're always proud of people being first. So with that, I want to introduce Alyssa. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. You guys are heroes as far as I'm concerned. The educators, the innovators who got our kids through the pandemic, used creative ways to make sure they were learning, they were thriving at a time when we were all facing so many challenges. As he mentioned, I spend my day debating, discussing with women from totally different backgrounds, politics, policy, and culture. And we don't agree on much of anything, but one thing that is a uniting force that we all agree in is that education opens doors. It's the great equalizer. And for folks who are coming up in situations that are challenging, that are tough, that don't have the access to great education, it just puts them so far behind. And you guys are really opening those doors. I hope you all think about the fact that the impact you are having, you'll never even know how widespread it is. That's the beauty of education. You impact lives in such a deep way. I could tell you, personally, the teachers in my life, the principals who influenced me and who stuck with me. So just thank you for what you are doing. It is so needed. And it doesn't stop here. The pandemic, it's not over. We've got to get through it. But let's move this forward even beyond there. We need to think of the most innovative ways to do good by our children. And as Steve mentioned, that is how we solve the great problems in our society. It's preparing them early on, giving them the skills to be the future leaders of tomorrow. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. So I am absolutely thrilled to introduce the 2021 Yas Award recipients who are going to tell you a little bit about just the incredible work that they did and how they have just, you know, I'm not even sure the word because you all come from such different backgrounds, but I want to hear about the work that you are doing and just thank you all for what you have done up until this point. The first I would like to bring up is Patricia Brantley. Thank you so much, Patricia, who is just... So, Pat Brantley is the CEO of Friendship Public Charter School in my home, Washington, D.C., for 18 years, which looking at you is very hard to believe, but thank you. And a Stop Award semifinalist in 2021. Can you tell us a bit about what you're doing?
Absolutely. In 2020, when millions upon millions of children were sent home as school buildings were ordered closed, the 5,000 children of Friendship Public Charter School became part of a generation denied access to the schools that they loved and the services they needed. At Friendship, we knew we had to act. From sending technology and food to homes, to getting our teachers teaching virtually within a week, to making sure that we were always there in the ways that our families needed. We were the first, among the first, to reopen in person with micro schools and learning hubs. When we became part of the inaugural class of awardees for being sustainable, transformational, outstanding, and permissionless, it was an honor. But it wasn't the end. Through the Yas Prize and the Stop Award, we were given the resources we needed to continue to innovate. We were also given a brain trust of experts from all fields and colleagues and comrades in this work to lean on, to learn from, and to grow. I am forever grateful to the Yases and to today for growing our movement with all of you. I can't wait to see what we do for children.
Beautifully said, Pat. And now I'd like to introduce Jeff Emrick, co-founder of Rock by Rock in New York, here in New York, for 3 years and a Stop Award finalist in 2021. Thank you, Jeff.
So hi, my name is Jeff Emrick, co-founder of Rock by Rock. I'm really excited to be here today with you all, welcome you to the Yas Prize family, and I hope we can meet after this. Rock by Rock is a platform that provides on-demand project-based learning that is accessible and doable for any educator in any setting. And when I listened to Mr. Forbes speak before about how the human mind is the greatest treasure, I think that is so true. And when we think about education, we cultivate that mind through deeper learning and authentic experiences, not through rote learning and worksheets. And so the Yas Prize has been transformational for us as an organization. And I want to just give you a little story. One of our micro school teachers in Florida called us a few weeks ago, and she's like, listen, we just started the Save Our Brains project. It's about preventing traumatic brain injury. And she's like, we did the kids did the activity where they made the model brain, and then we're learning how the different parts of the brain control different functions, and then they did the activity with the speed and energy transfer to see what happens when there's a collision. And they were like, wow, getting hit in the head, that's a really big deal. And I'm like, yeah, it is a really big deal. And then they went back online, because it's hybrid, online, offline. They went back online, and they started engaging with some of the lessons online, and they met an expert, Dr. Jones, who's a neuroscientist who's also teaching them about the brain as part of the project. And there was this silent aha trickling through the room, and teacher said, our black students were very excited that they were seeing a black woman neuroscientist as a role model in the project. And she said, at the same time, our other students were having an aha moment because they were not expecting the neuroscientist to be a woman of color. And so for us, when we think about deeper learning, that's what we want to be true with equitable access everywhere. And because of the Yas Prize, we were able to go from a prototype last fall to having our platform up in April to being in 10 states this fall. And we are now working with micro school, private school, public school, charter school, faith-based school, after school. And that includes Friendship Charter, and it includes Zeta Charter here in New York, who's also doing innovative school lab design. And so we couldn't have done that without the generosity of the Yases and the community that's here. And I'm really excited to continue that journey with you all, so thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. That's just incredible. I love hearing this. Lakeisha Williams, assistant principal for the last 2 years at Care Elementary School in Miami, Florida, and a STOP Award finalist.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of my principal, Christopher Simmons, who went through this cohort last year with these amazing people that are here today. Just to share a little bit about Care Elementary. Care Elementary is a nonprofit private Christian school offering tuition-free education to an underprivileged demographic of students in Miami. We build foundational academics and Christian principles in our school. Since opening the school in 2015, our students have raised their reading proficiency levels from 11% in our first year to 75% as of last year. Yes, we could not have done that without the tireless effort of our teachers and our staff at our school. But even with that, our kindergarten students were still entering the school missing the basic skills needed for them to succeed. We knew that we needed to intervene, but we didn't know how. So through the Yass Prize, we were able to open our VPK this year. It is now We Care Preschool. We opened it this year. We have it's a 2-classroom facility, and this will give us the opportunity to change the trajectory of 30 additional lives of these students. And we'd like to thank Jean Allen. She came to visit our school and she suggested that we use our existing building, which was our gym, and we did just that and opened that space this year. Okay. We'd also like to thank Patricia Brantley as well as Antonio Roca. Both of them had the opportunity to come and visit our school, and through our relationship with Antonio and Academica, we now have the potential possibility to open up a new facility that will give us the opportunity to service 300 more students. We know that without the STOP Awards and the Yaz's, we would not be able to do this, and we thank you for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakeisha. That's fabulous. And now I want to introduce Laura Cassidy, founder and board chair of Louisiana Key Academy for the last 9 years in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and a STOP Award finalist.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations to all of y'all. It's an honor to be here with you. Boy, those are bright lights. And you are celebrating, and we are celebrating, and we know that we are here because of the work of Janine and her husband, Jeff Yass. And it is their vision, their work, and their generosity that is changing education, as you know, for today and for decades to come. Yeah, thank you. I also want to thank Jeannie Allen and Michael Musanti from SIR, because when I've been in the middle of a lot of details, they help me find solutions. And I thank Steve Forbes as well, not only for the venue, but for his remarks. I think we all could relate to them and find them as wise. And I also want to give a shout out to one of the participants with us last year, Joni Bessler. She's here in New York. Her organization is Forward STEAM Ahead. And it is a STEM embedded curriculum. And we talked with them. And between talking with them and their expertise, at LKA, we changed our curriculum so that we embed STEM from kindergarten all the way through our classes and through the years. And so I really encourage you to talk, to learn from one another, and to form partnerships. But what we're here for, the Yass Prize. And I want to talk about what it's done for Louisiana Key Academy. First of all, I want to say it's the wow factor. Louisiana Key Academy is a school for dyslexic kids. This is our 10th year. Dyslexia is not sexy. I can't talk about it in 30 seconds. And our kids don't do well on standardized tests. Okay? We're a school that takes kids that fail in other schools. Thank you. But many people could not accept our model. The Yas Prize helped many people recognize the validity of our model. Thank you. Secondly, we got a $250,000 award. We were able to open a second school this summer, in Louisiana, and so now we're serving more parents and their children. And these kids and their parents are joyful. Their kids aren't crying. They know their kids are going to learn to read and write, and they're not embarrassed by their disability. It's because of the success of our program that we are on track to open a third school next summer. Yes, and we just got approval for a high school. So this is the wow factor, right? This is the power of the Yas Prize. And so in closing, I just want to tell you, expect opposition. Embrace it, endure it, work hard, persevere, be thankful, and pray that you live long enough to live longer than your enemies. Because we need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. That was fabulous. And now I want to introduce Taylor Shedd, founder and CEO of Stimuli in Dallas, Texas, and a Stop Award finalist.
Hey, everybody. Taylor Shedd, as you know, from Dallas, Texas, and this is a moment. You know, I'll rewind and tell you my story and get to everything that we got to do with the Yas Prize, but I'm going to rewind back to 2020 when the Dallas Independent School District that serves over 150,000 students needed to move everybody online and virtual. It was me and my team that built a virtual classroom that allowed all of their high school students to connect with their high school teachers and college counselors. But that wasn't it. Once we connected, then we realized just because you make it easy for kids to connect online doesn't mean they're engaged in their learning. So the chief technology officer from the school district calls me and says, Taylor, if you want to do something nobody else in the world is doing, see if you can build school in a video game. So over the next year, we went heads down, we completely pivoted our business model, and we built a video game for learners at Dallas Hybrid Prep, the first hybrid school in the state of Texas, where students attended school 3 days at home and 2 days in person. So we found out we were awarded the Yas Prize towards the end of 2021, and it was one of the hardest times at our company because we had started to face a lot of opposition, a lot of people saying, you're just building a shiny toy of a video game, and completely not understanding why we were doing what we were doing. So we got brought together with 20 innovators from around the entire country, and truly what I felt like and what I still feel like today is I have become a part of the family. So if you didn't know Janine and Jeff and Jeannie, you've adopted me as your daughter. But I really do feel that way. And as far as what we've done, what I'm really excited to tell you is after we won, became a finalist in December of 2021, we had great results from the hybrid school, where the students we recognized were outbeating their peers in math, science, and reading by 10 plus points across the district, serving 150,000 students. Now, the bigger thing happened next. In May, Stimuli was able to raise $3 million of venture capital money, and I became the 94th Black woman in the history of the entire world to raise over $1 million in capital. So the Yas Prize gave me the community, it gave me the confidence, it gave the world the validation that I wasn't just a Black woman in Dallas, Texas that didn't know what she was doing, but people had recognized our organization as something that could be a change agent. So after we raised that capital, we acquired some source code. I know that's like a super technical word, But we acquired the source code of a guy by the name of Prasad Ram, who had ran the Google Maps development team, left Google 12 years ago, and said, I'm going to build a GPS of learning because I want to make it as easy for every student in the world to navigate their education the same way we all use Google Maps to navigate the world. So we took the Yass Prize funding, it helped us get the venture capital money. The venture capital money helped us acquire the source code and develop the strategic partnership. And now within the next 2 years, through our partnership, we'll be able to reach 29 million learners across the entire world with the work that we're doing. So the last and most important thing I want to leave you with today, as far as the impact that this community and this family has had on Stimuli and myself and our personal journey, is going back to the family. So when I met all of these people, keep in mind, I'm at a public school. Previously, we thought public schools are over here, charter schools are over here. We don't talk to each other, we don't work together, but this changed the game for us. So I became inspired because of the Yass Prize to start thinking, how can I not only serve the large public school districts that I've been serving, but how can I serve that school of one, where a parent has decided the best opportunity for me and my child is if I'm teaching them at home. And so really now at Stimuli, we've created a new business model called Metaverse as a Service, where we're looking at educators and innovators like you who don't want to start a video game company, who don't want to build up all this technical prowess, say, how can we work together so I can help you provide the best learning experience possible for your learners? So we're partnered with Friendship Schools, Global Ed out of Denver. We're working with a high school for recording arts, all bringing them into the metaverse so we can continue to scale to serve more people like you. So I hope you enjoy this moment. I promise you, you'll remember it for a lifetime. This has been one of the most transformative experiences that I have ever had and our company has ever had. And we look forward to welcoming the 64 others of you and our family and whatever happens next year. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you, Taylor. Just incredible. And finally, I want to bring up Rob Blevins, Executive Director for the past 5 years of Discovery Center of Springfield in Missouri, and a $1 million Yass Prize winner in 2021. So great to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. You gave me a microphone, so that means I get to use it. So the first thing I have to do, I'd be remiss if I didn't draw attention to Jeff and Janine Yass for their generosity in making all of this possible, as well as Jeannie Allen and her team for the adventurous yet impeccable efforts in putting this prize together and pushing it forward in such a 10x way this year. So first, let's give them some applause and thank them. So our story, and I'll make it very brief, we are a science center and children's museum in Southwest Missouri. We have 60,000 square feet, and in March of 2020, we closed our science center down and brought in the healthcare workers and first responders kids for emergency childcare. We provided over 250,000 hours of free childcare to those kids, over 50,000 free meals and snacks, and served over 1,000 child enrollments during that time. We had moms walking up to us on the first day that we were open that are frontline workers battling against COVID, had 2 kids in tow, and said, I don't know where I'm gonna take my kids today. And this was before PPP relief was out there. They didn't know if they were gonna have a job if they didn't have somewhere to take them. So I said yes every single time. Even though we were already at capacity, I said, yes, of course, we'll take your kids. And I wish it wasn't one time that it happened. It happened so many times that my team no longer let me be at the front door in the morning. So that ended. But we realized that kids were gonna fall behind. We were seeing pretty quickly what they were getting from school, which was akin to coloring books, and we weren't okay with that. And so we immediately brought in some wraparound education and started providing a full educational model to those kids. So much so that in the fall, the museum became a school. We launched our own private school, starting out with 20 kids. And I'm gonna do the Jerry Seinfeld yada, 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 since I'm in New York. And take you to another time when I was in this room, down there on the floor, when they announced the Discovery Center of Springfield as the grand prize winner of the Yas Award and the $1 million that it came with. And that changed my life forever. It changed the lives of the people on my team forever. And it changed the lives of the kids that we serve forever. I'm going to tell you about one of them. His name's Anthony, and he came to us. He was living in a domestic violence shelter, and he was not at grade level. He was in first grade, and he wasn't even reading at all. But I believed in Anthony, and I found him a teacher that believed in Anthony. And in 3 months, doing our individualized, personalized learning plans, I got called down to the front desk, and there were 2 chairs set up, and there was Anthony sitting down, and I sat down next to him, and he read to me at grade level. And I started crying, and I said, I'm not crying because I'm sad. And he interrupted me, and he said, no, those are happy tears. My mom does that too. What's even better about that, though, is Anthony, at the end of that school year, was the second best reader in his class. He was reading at a 5th grade level. All of that is possible when you have this fantastic support. So what have we done since then? We've doubled the size of our, well, we've more than doubled of the 20. We're up to 120 now of kids that we can now serve. We've installed the Lou Interactive Indoor Digital Playground, where kids that think they're bad at math get to use their bodies to throw a ball against the wall to solve the equations and realize they're good at math. We have opened infant care up in one of our facilities as a community need. We just really used it in a way to where we can continue to be permissionless. The world doesn't want us to be permissionless, but we've been given this ability to be even more permissionless. So when Springfield Public Schools in March of this year decided to pull their embedded 5th grade school program out of our building, after telling all the parents that they'd be coming here, when a child came to us and said, I'm really disappointed, I still want to go to the Discovery Center, we were able to say, yes, you can still come to the Discovery Center. And she's there right now, going to school. When I was asked to talk about the impact of this award, I don't know the impact of the award. We don't know that yet. The impact that we had as a cohort together last year and how we've worked together, the impact that you all are going to have working with each other, or working with my organization, or working with the other semifinalist organizations, it's a ripple effect. We've dropped that, and now there's this ripple that's going out there, and it's becoming a wave. And now it's up to the Center for Education Reform to ride that wave for the next 34 years and make sure that individual kids come before systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Without further ado, the woman of the hour, the month, the year, the Yas Prize founder, Janine Yass. Thank you so much for the incredible work that you are doing. When you look around this room at these faces, this is just a small representation of the incredible impact that you and Jeff have allowed people to have. And just thank you for what you do. It's so inspiring. But I want to ask you, what inspired you to start the STOP Award in the first place? And can you talk to me, we've talked about sustainable, these important terms that you built into the acronym. How did you come up with that?
So the beginning of the alumni awardees have heard this story before, how Jeannie and I spent a lot of time during the last 25 years working to get school choice in Philadelphia, starting in Philadelphia. Then we went more national with our efforts. Jeannie put me on the board. I learned so much from her. Thank you so much, Jeannie. I spent a lot of time with Jeannie during those dark days of COVID, realizing when schools shut down, how depressing it was for not only for the students, but for their entire families and the ripple effect it had on communities. And it was probably toward the end of April of 2020, we heard a lot of depressing stories, but we also started hearing about some really bright spots of schools that were opening. People that were not taking no for an answer, not shutting the doors. And we realized that it might have been a moment in time where, I said this earlier, that COVID changed things in education because families didn't really know what was going on in education before COVID. And it was almost like, a Band-Aid was torn off and people could see what was happening in their children's lives. Especially, we distributed a lot of Chromebooks initially in March. And we thought that was going to be the solution. I went to visit a lot of after-school programs and walked behind the Chromebooks, and they were blank screens. So that was not a solution. We couldn't replace educators. It had to be a combination of different talents. I said to Jeannie, wow, this is happening. Let's start recognizing some of the educators that came out. We were recognizing the doctors and the nurses at hospitals and first responders, and they were so well deserved, but so did teachers that were coming out for children and families. So that was really the start of the award, was the dark days of COVID. And what we found out, once we did put this call out for educators that we wanted to reward them, that it was, we couldn't believe how many applications we had, and the quality of those applications just blew us away. So it started out to be a smaller prize, but it just grew because we couldn't say no to so many of the applications that we got. We were so impressed by.
Well, thank you for your incredible generosity. And we just heard from 6 of last year's awardees and just the incredible work that they've done and been able to do over the last year. What surprised you in hearing their kind of recaps of what they've accomplished?
Well, you're probably not going to believe this, because they all mentioned how the network and the family that we created last year, that was never an intention, believe it or not. We never thought of that when we began this prize. I always wanted to have a big family, so that's good. And my 4 children are now grown, so now I have a lot of other children. But that was the biggest, nicest surprise, and it warms my heart. But the other thing that really surprised me was the sense of gratitude from the applicants. And I realized that, you know, in education, we spent a lot of years in education, visiting schools, my husband and I, and it made me realize that in education, oftentimes good teachers are not promoted and bad teachers are not punished. And you don't get recognized, you don't get the recognition you deserve. And everyone was just so over the top with their appreciation. I couldn't believe it.
And it's so fabulous to hear this network that you almost unintentionally created, because as we heard, there's so many different innovative approaches that are different, and you all can learn from each other and just build off of each other. So it's just what you've done is so remarkable. And I heard you're in Arizona recently, giving out awards in education to Champion of Education Freedom, Governor Ducey. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we felt that we got a lot of great applications from Arizona last year and this year. And the piece of this award, the S for sustainable, was really important for us, because throughout our years in education reform, we realized that there is a lot of money in the system, and it's just not directed to the children. Amen. So we, in a way, what Governor Ducey did, we just wanted to thank him for his bravery in passing the legislation that really created the most comprehensive educational savings account plan across the country. And we hope by recognizing him, and also by giving our seed money to start schools, because now children are able to leave the public schools, but we realize there has to be an influx of new organizations. So with our seed money to start schools or school or micro schools, and then have the state funding take over in a few years, it's just a beautiful formula. And I think that in other issues like housing or medicine, there's always a private-public partnership. But somehow that hasn't happened in education. And we hope that that will spur on more states to do what Governor Ducey did.
Absolutely. In this day and age, in this environment we live in, we think of things so much through the political lens. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, think of education as a partisan issue. What do you say to people who think it's a partisan issue?
I always try to avoid politics, but unfortunately it is a partisan issue, education, and it really is disheartening that I find that, especially in states, a lot of blue states that do so much of their policy around fairness and equity, that you would just assume that they would want that kind of fairness and equity in education. And the fact that it is partisan, it's upsetting, and I think that hopefully this award will help muscle more states to make it a more bipartisan issue.
Absolutely. And you alluded to this in talking about your time in Arizona, but how do you hope to impact policy both at the state and national levels?
I think that if this award becomes more national, well, it is nationally focused now, but becomes more well known across the country, that people like, well, Governor Ducey did not need to know this, and a lot of, like, governor in Florida did not need to know this. He figured that out, that it was fair for money to follow children. And think about those two states, that's where everyone's moving. So hopefully they'll be able to, other states will take, are gonna have to look at restructuring their funding of their policies so poor people have the same choices that wealthy people have if they don't want to choose the public schools.
And Education Secretary Miguel Cardona recently made the point that a lot of underserved communities struggled significantly during the pandemic, but they also were struggling in education prior to the pandemic. They were just hit even harder. What do you think is the long-term solution? How can you help with dealing with this issue long-term?
I think the long-term solution would be to try to get rid of the barriers that block all children to have a high-quality education. Unfortunately, that is the bureaucracy that's behind the school systems that are more interested in perpetuating jobs and keeping the system in place than giving children the freedom.
Yeah, well said. And you've already talked about this, but I'm going to let you just go even further. Can you talk to us about some of the ways that the Yass Prize is breaking down education barriers, and what do you hope to see for the future?
Again, I mean, the biggest barrier in education during COVID was the bureaucracy that just shut the doors on children. That was the #1 barrier. And like the Secretary of Education said, has always been the #1 barrier, even before COVID, for poor children. So I just think that growing this family and spreading the word that this is what parents deserve and that this is a civil right in our country that needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of brains in the education department that are working against this, but we have to put the more positive, powerful brains in place and keep pushing this.
How can we all help spread the word about the Yass Prize and this incredible community that you're building?
Well, I'm over 60, and I don't understand social media or Instagram, but I know we've been successful with that through a lot of our alumni and our award winners. Spread the word in your communities. Rob did a great segment in his local community when he got the award. I think spreading this locally and as a grassroots effort will then make it become more national. And again, the biggest surprise, like we said, is this network of the family and all of the collaboration that you could do together. And mention, and I'll always mention it to any kind of media, but also to your parents. I think it's another, there's been another void in this movement, is that a lot of parents are not even aware of these choices. We've started charter schools and private schools, and oftentimes the parents aren't even unaware. They're unaware of what a charter school is and that they deserve it. So I think that schools and organizations need to take that message to their families.
Janine, you have created just such an incredible network and movement, and you're an inspiration. Anything that we all can do to just build up and share what you are doing, we are all eager advocates with you. So thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you so much for stopping.
Can we give another round of applause to Janine and Alyssa Farrah-Griffin? Thank you so much. Nice job. My name is Caroline Allen, and I am the Vice President of the Yass Prize. Congratulations to our 64 quarterfinalists. You made it. So excited to you. You all are here, and you all are already winners. You are going to use that $100,000 to expand, to scale, to do that thing that you never maybe thought you could do. So again, you're all winners already. We're excited to see you at the accelerator, the virtual accelerator that is, where you're going to be able to hear from amazing keynotes and leaders in the fields of journalism, finance, business, to push you even farther, because you already are great. So we're excited. Thank you. And with that being said, you know, this is a competition. And our team had the tumultuous decision with 800 judges, many of you in the room, because you all observed and judged each other as well in the first round. But we had the decision to go from 64 to 32. And please know that we did not take this decision lightly. It was a really hard decision, using your interviews, reading your applications more times than we'd like to share. And they were all so well written, and we just kept going back and just making sure that we took this diverse cohort and made it even more special as we're getting to the 32. So I will say that when we are thinking about how to announce our 32 semifinalists, we are going to hand it back over to our alumni, because they really are our secret sauce. We're so proud of them, just like we're proud of you. So they're going to read out the names of our 32 semifinalists that will travel to Miami for the in-person accelerator at the end of November. Please know some teacher directions. When your name gets called, we're going to give a huge round of applause. If you can stand up so we can recognize you, and then you can sit back down and we'll take a picture with the newly crowned semifinalist after the program. So, but again, congratulations to you all. And now I can sense the excitement and nervousness in the room. And now I'd like to introduce back the finalists who will be sharing our newly crowned 32. Thank you.
Now, to our winners. Build up.
Chickasaw City Schools.
Richard Preparatory School.
Arizona Autism Charter School.
Black Mothers Forum.
Arkansas Lighthouse Charter School.
Da Vinci Rise High.
Capital Prep Schools.
Jumoke Academy Charter School.
Hope Ranch Learning Academy.
Kind Academy.
RCMA Immokalee Community Academy.
Sail Future.
SOAR Academy School and Tutoring Center.
Purdue Polytech High School.
Urban Preparatory Academy, Wichita Institute.
Uncommon Construction.
Engaged Detroit.
Coded by Kids.
Italy.
Pod Learning. Lift Learning.
Rapunzel.
Bria Public Charter Schools, Patterson.
Mission Achievement and Success Charter School.
Launch Expeditionary Learning Charter School.
Northern Cass School District. Oakmont Education.
Father Judge High School.
The Lab School of Memphis.
Young Women's Preparatory Network.
And Open Sky Education.
To everyone in this room, thank you to our great finalists from last year. We're so excited for all of you. Thank you again for all you do. We couldn't be more pleased at your enthusiasm, your passion, your commitment, and all the kids together that will number in the millions. So those of you who talk about that opposition establishment, watch out, we're coming for you. We're doing it for kids. Yas Prize Cohort 2022 semifinalists, congratulations. Join us for a little reception, and thank you. Bye, everybody.